Hello everybody, Roger here again, and I'm going to be going around harvesting my first round of salmon berries today. Got my bucket here, and it's been sunny for the past couple days, so I'm sure there's a few berries. They're just starting to ripen, so as the season goes, you'll be watching me pick the various berries that I make the wild berry jams and jellies out of. So, here we go. So I'm just out here in the daylight, and you could see the dandelion jelly is a yellowish color, kind of an amber yellow. It's dandelion jelly. This is my first attempt at making it. It does have a nice yellowish color. So I'm just gonna give it a try here and let you know what it tastes like. So this is my first time trying dandelion jelly, and it is a neat little yellow color to it. Let's give it a shot. It's very thick, and I would say it tastes like honey. So yeah, dandelion jelly tastes like honey. It's a pure honey, like it's honey if the bees just pollinated dandelions, and it's very thick, so it's not very viscous. It's gelled, so it's pretty good. I might make it next year, not anymore this year, as the season's over and I used up what I had. So unfortunately, it's not going to be in the stand this year. But we'll see if I can make it next year, and if I perfect the recipe and I like it, we'll sell it. Just going down to the beach here at Hirschiralta to check out some eagle activity. There seems to be a lot of eagles out here right now. And it's a nice low tide. Oh, there we go. And over there we have a vulture. So I wonder if there's something dead nearby. They seem to be gathering over there. I'll zoom in. The vultures and eagles. So there must be something dead on the beach right there. And I'm going to go check it out. Seems to be a bunch of vultures there, turkey vultures, and they're pecking at something. Now, an interesting story about the turkey vultures. When I was a teenager growing up in Sontala, we didn't used to have turkey vultures. They started showing up in the 90s, and people used to say, oh, this person said they saw a turkey vulture, and everyone thought they were nuts because they said they saw a vulture, and there's no vultures around here. Until one day we saw a vulture, and it's like, oh, okay, so there are vultures around here. And no one believed us either. And now they're a common thing. They actually migrate up to Victoria every year in big groups, and then they spread out along Vancouver Island. And here you see them have a red head. And when they're flying, you could tell the difference because the wings are kind of almost translucent, and they soar differently than an eagle. And it looks like an eagle flying with no head because the heads are up. All right, so I'm approaching whatever it is they're eating. And it looks like, oh, it's a piece of a whale. All right, so there was, this is whale blubber. And there was a whale. There was a whale that washed up in Port McNeill recently, and unfortunately I didn't get to see it before they cut it up. But this is part of that whale that must have drifted here from Port McNeill. The reason we're seeing like a chunk of this whale that washed up on the beach is because the marine biologists, local marine biologists, do a dissection on the whales if there's any that wash up on shore to try and find the probable cause of death and whatnot. So eventually when the tide comes up, you'll see some of these floating around, and one just so happened to float here. Another neat thing you'll see in Sointala on the beaches of Malcolm Island, especially along Cleaver Road, are some old engine parts from people's vehicles that were once trashed on the beaches. And it's time to start picking salmon berries. It's not something you pick all in one go. They ripen here, ripen there, and you have to pick the ripe ones, otherwise they get full of bugs or eaten by the birds. I usually leave the ones way up top for the birds and just get the ones that I could pick. So, got my bucket here. Let's go fill it up. And we're getting a lot of rainfall lately, so the berries are nice and juicy, as you can see here. And over here we got a nice patch of orange salmon berry. They're a little sweeter than the red ones. Looks like the season's just beginning here. Everything's still pretty green and growing. Here's a patch of the orange ones. This one here is not ready to be picked. It's quite firm, and it's still a lighter, paler yellow on the other side. You want it to be a nice plump berry like this and bright orange. And it should just come off like nothing. And again, you want to look inside if there's any bugs. The common bugs that go inside of salmon berries are these millipedes and those stink bugs. So I'm here in a patch of the orange salmon berry, and I just want to point out how to tell the difference before they actually ripen, so you know what patch is what. Here you could see here is a new shoot, and the new shoots from a orange salmon berry are always going to come out green. And eventually this will red in, but very slowly. But you could see here, orange salmon berry, and they got a more yellowish tinge to the leaves. Here's a good example there. Whereas the red salmon berry are going to be dark leaves. And here we got the new shoots of a red salmon berry, and they always come out of the stem red. Then the difference in the leaf color on the red ones, they're always a dark color. And it's late in the season to find salmon berry flowers, but I just want to point out on a red salmon berry, the flower petals are going to be a very dark pink, like a fuchsia, very dark fuchsia color. Here's one of the last salmon berry flowers of the season. As you can see, it's a dark fuchsia pink, and it'll have the dark leaves, red berries. You can see red shoot, darker flower. Here we have orange salmon berry. You could see all the leaves have like a yellowish color. They're more lighter, and the new shoots are green, and as they mature they'll slowly turn red, and the stalks are usually a paler color as well. And these here are thimbleberries, and it's going to have a nice large white flower and fuzzy like leaves. Here's a nice example. Almost looks like a maple leaf, and it's got a fuzzy underside. And then right now, heading into June here, so the flowers are only starting to come out, and these will turn into a berry that's very delicate red berry that's like a thimble, and that's why they call it the thimbleberry. So this here is a good example of an orange salmon berry, and you can see the leaves are very bright lime green, and all shoots, this is a new shoot, but as salmon berry shoots mature, all shoots start to turn reddish. But a new shoot on an orange salmon berry comes out green and is always green, whereas on a red salmon berry they always come out red. And here's some orange salmon berries. Unfortunately, the flowers are now wilted and gone away, and it's in its fruiting season here now as I'm picking, so I can't show you the pale flowers, but they'll also have a pale pink flower. And here we have the red salmon berry, and as you can see, the leaves are quite dark, and all of the new shoots are red, bright red. All the shoots are red. When they first come out, they're red, and the flowers are no longer blooming because it's in the fruiting season, but the flowers of a red salmon berry are going to be a dark pink. Now, I'm lucky enough to be side by side here. I have an orange and a red salmon berry. Darker leaves, lighter leaves. And this is what I like to see when the berries are nice and big and juicy like this. You don't always see that. Just for comparison here, you can see it's bigger than my thumbnail. So I'm just picking salmon berries going up what we call locally the garbage dump hill, because this hill went from Cleaver Road all the way up. It's a steep hill up to the garbage dump, which was this big naturally formed pit that everyone used to throw their garbage in. Now I'm not going to go up there this second. I'm just about maybe a quarter of the way up the garbage dump hill. And another name for this area in behind me here in the trees was called the Burns. And there was once a fore and aft logging road, which isn't really a road, it's more like kind of like tracks on stilts that a truck would have driven on in difficult terrain to pull logs out of the forest. So there was a fore and aft road in behind me here, and this area was called the Burns when my mother was growing up. So we're just gonna go take a look in here and see if I could find any evidence of that fore and aft road or any evidence of why it was called the Burns. As you can see in front of me here, there is a private property marker here, an IP pin. So everything below this point is someone's private property, but everywhere just above this is crown land. So I'm just going to explore in just this little area here and see if I could find any evidence of the Burns or that fore and aft road. I'm just going to take a walk in the forest here to try and see if I find any evidence of the old fore and aft road, which would have been like these pilings and elevated road, or not even a road, it's like a track that the trucks would have run on, and it would have been in this area. But I am seeing signs of the logging that went on and evidence of the Burns. And then here we got, just before the garbage dump road here, we got this huge tire here. Looks pretty old. It's off of a old logging truck. And here's more signs of the Burns. An old tree here burnt up. Nothing so far, but I do see why they called this area the Burns, as there are quite a few burnt stumps here. There's one up ahead again. So this is why they called this area, going up the garbage dump hill, the Burns. And I am seeing some evidence of the logging that went on in the area. This goes back a long time and hasn't been touched since it was first fallen here. You can see they cut it into chunks here, but for some reason they left it. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time in here exploring around today, but I just wanted to take a quick peek in here. You can see in here it was once all cleared off, and this could be where something was going on. And here I found an old-fashioned 7-Up can, so that kind of dates the time period when activity was going on along here. We're too far away from the garbage dump, which was up the hill from here, for this to be any old garbage that was from the dump. So this dates to the time period of the logging that was going on here at the Burns, going up the garbage dump hill. So this is the top of the garbage dump hill looking down. If you went downhill, you'd end up at Cleva Road. And then it snakes off this way. And this is the Mitchell Bay Road. If you followed that, you'd eventually get to Mitchell Bay. But I want to show you where the old garbage dump used to be. And it's now not a well-maintained road, so it's full of potholes and it's been eroding away from water runoff from the forest. But let's go take a look at what the old garbage dump once looked like. I didn't want to take my truck up here because it's quite the lumpy, bumpy, rutty road here. So I'll just take a walk up the remainder of the garbage dump hill. Now, as you can see, you're going to start to see some remnants of old garbage tossed around here in the forest as we approach the old garbage dump. Now here's like an old side road or a pullout, and this could have been maybe for a runoff for a runaway truck. They sometimes have them on steeper hills like this, where if your truck brakes don't work, you run off to the side. That's what I'm thinking this is, because there's a wall here, but I'm not sure. But a neat thing, there was once a punk that lived in Swantala a long time ago, and he did these bike trails all through the forest in the area going up the garbage dump hill. There's not much left of them now. But if you could imagine, something like this, only a lot larger, would have been similar to what a fore and aft road would have looked like. And these are definitely not part of that fore and aft road. These are, again, were a mountain biking trail. And you could see there's more of it in the forest here. There's some evidence of early logging on the island. You could see just how big the trees once were. And the springboard notches into the tree. They would have sawed this down by hand. And now I'm at the very top of the garbage dump hill. And this is what the garbage dump looks like today. It's all grown in with alder. But at one time, this is where you would have drove into this big flattened area here. And then there was a big pit and a big drop off where everyone would throw their garbage over the pit. And every once in a while, they would come with the machine and bulldoze everything into the pit. But it was on Crown land, and eventually the regional district wanted us to have a transfer station. And now, since 2011, we have a transfer station in town where every 2 weeks a garbage truck comes and picks up the garbage. But before then, people used to throw their garbage here over this embankment that I'll show you in a minute. As I approach it, I'm walking up what's called the Beacon Hill now, which starts at the beginning or the end of the garbage dump hill. And they call it the Beacon Hill because it goes up to where there was once this beacon for airplanes. One time they were even planning on putting an airport up here. That never happened. And there was also, they were trying to put like a racetrack. There's other plans they had with this area. As you get up there, it's like sand dunes and such. I'm not going to go all the way up to the beacon. I'm just going to show you the pit where the garbage dump once was. You can't see much here. It's very thick with alder. But I'm going to look over the edge here. You could see the pit just drops right off. And down there is where everyone used to dump their garbage. Down in this huge pit down there. I'm just going to take a walk into this little alder patch here. This was all an area you could drive. And people used to drive in here. It was all sandy back then. Now it's all grass and the forest is starting to claim it. And it's growing in with alder. Now I'm just going to walk into this patch of alder here and show you the edge where everyone used to dump their garbage off the edge here into this big natural pit. Now you can see it just drops right off. And this was all filled in with sand, but down below here is where everyone would dump their garbage, and there's going to be many generations of garbage beneath my feet here. So I decided, since I'm here and it's a nice enough day, I'm just going to take a walk and continue on up towards the Beacon Hill, past the garbage dump. Now I just decided to take a quick walk into the forest here off of the Beacon Hill, just to show you the beginning of this huge crater where the garbage dump once was, way down below there. And I'm not sure what would have formed this. Maybe this is where there was some sort of a glacial meltdown when the glaciers formed Malcolm Island, or something else. Who knows? Again, here's signs of the burns and old logging. This is all one stump that got burnt out. But you could just see how massive this tree once was. This beast of a tree here. And just a little ways in the woods, going up the Beacon Hill, you could see how steep down this drop-off goes into that big pit where the garbage dump once was. And that this area was once all cleared off, and it's nice and flat in here, like you could have drove in here at one time. And you could see over in the woods a little more signs of where they were logging, and they left behind what they considered back in those days as junk, and only took the good stuff. But you could see the distance between the original stumps, just how far apart the trees were in the original forest, and just how thick it's grown in with hemlock. Hemlock is another species of tree that'll take over in a second growth forest. But look at all these logs still up here. And some of these, there's still going to be good wood in here for shakes and shingles. It's all old growth. And this is more of the road on the way to the Beacon. At one time when I was a kid, this was a open gravel pit in here. And just off the Beacon Road there, looks like there's some quad trails going off into the woods. I'm not going to follow them because if they're quad trails, they'll go off all over the place. But here we have a big bundle of cable that would go back to the time of the original logging here. And here we're coming up to what was called the Beacon, or the Beacon Hill. Again, it was because there was a tower for air traffic. And they were at one time planning on putting an airport in this area, which never happened. You could see it's a big flattened off gravel pit. And there's dunes and trails going off everywhere. I'm not going to explore it too much right now because I'm on foot. Just going to look around. And at one time it was like a car dump. People would throw their old wrecked vehicles up here and teenagers would light them on fire. And now it's slowly starting to grow back in. And this is the Beacon. Not that I need a shot of me for posterity up at the Beacon Hill, but I mean, I might as well take one. So here's a shot of me for posterity up at the Beacon Hill. Here's a whole old fishing net. Fishing used to be one of the main industries here on Malcolm Island. And it was obviously haywire, and the old fishermen threw it up here at the Beacon a long time ago. Alright, so I'm going to carry on with my day. I know this video is not that most exciting of my videos, but just wanted to show you the area of the old garbage dump. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you want to follow along my video series. And I'll see you all in the next video. Alright, ciao.